Did you know that 1 in 6 children in the UK have been identified as having a probable mental health problem? That's 5 children in every classroom. This is a record high in human history that we've never experienced before. But why is it happening? Today I'm speaking with Jack Parsons and his co-founder Leon Marseglia, the forces behind the UK's largest community for young people, the Youth Group. Since starting the company 4 years ago, Young Jack, as he is often called, has managed to grow their community to over 1.7 million young individuals and connect thousands of them with some of the best UK companies offering jobs, upskilling and mentorship. Their exceptional achievements have been recognized by countless awards and honors, one of which is Jack's UK's Kindest Leader Award by the Financial Times. When Leon came on board, they took the youth group to one of the top 25 startups in the UK. How did they achieve this? What are the biggest challenges in front of young people today? And what are the right opportunities worth exploring? Answers to these questions and many more in the next 60 minutes. Meet Young Jack and Leon.
Welcome to The Product Show. Insightful interviews with founders and tech leaders sharing how they hack product growth.
Jack, Leon, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here. You're the people behind the Youth Group. The Youth Group is an organization helping young people with employment, upskilling, finding mentors, and many more, just creating opportunities for them. Tell me a little bit more about your company. Why does it exist? How are you making change in the world?
Absolutely. I'll start with my point of view, and it might be completely different to what Leon sees the Youth Group at, because we're always growing and changing daily, which is always important when you're a small business trying to grow. So the Youth Group, we are a movement. We empower and inspire young people with tomorrow's skills and today's jobs. And how can you really empower young people to thrive, get into work, earn some money, become an entrepreneur, and really immerse them in understanding their first 5 years in the professional world. We are a community of 1.7 million young people. We've helped over 105,000 young people get into work in the last 3 years. We have over 25 million insights on our youth across the country. What they feel, what they don't like, what they do like, what kind of jobs do they want to get into. And we employ 155 people across the group, at the Youth Group, to really help those young people to thrive. And we work with just shy of 1,000 partners on a monthly basis. So lots going on. Not enough. I get up every day thinking, what can we do more? How can we be better? We're not perfect. No one is. But how can we be 1% better each day? So that's my point of view in terms of who the Youth Group is. Leon?
I think you explained that really well, Jack. I would add to that as well is our focus is how do you build the confidence and the resilience in young people? Because there's one thing getting them an opportunity and helping them get that first job or connecting them with a mentor. But then they have their own battles around, am I right for this role? Imposter syndrome sets in. So it's also overcoming those challenges for young people when it comes to their confidence, their resilience, but also that imposter syndrome that everyone gets. But how do you deal with that imposter syndrome? They were the only bits I'd add. I think, Jack, you explained that brilliantly.
Amazing. Tell me a little bit more about those early days when you discovered that we really need such an organization. What was missing?
So the Youth Group sprung from my personal background, growing up in a council estate, not having any career opportunities. I left school. I wasn't the smartest person and I didn't have much qualifications behind me. I tried to go to uni, but unfortunately I failed. I didn't get the qualifications to get into uni. So I was left there. What do I do? Where do I go? I had no real model. I call them real models, not role models. People around you who are doing real jobs in real life time that you can learn from. I had none of that around me. And that really made me disconnected. It made me really sad in terms of who do I turn to? Who is there to mentor me? And so this came from a personal challenge on wanting to, I want to work. Young people want to get into work. Then I know you hear snowflakes, lazy, and young people don't want to work. Young people do want to work if it's something they're passionate about. Now, I'm a realist. I understand that some young people, we have to get them into work and say, come on, you stop being lazy, get up, stop being entitled. I get that. I'm a realist. But at the end of the day, if a young person can find their passion, find something that motivates them and earn some money while doing that, you'll get a dedicated, hard-working individual. Yes, with some mistakes along the way, but they will be really ready to go. And that's where it all started for me. I had no career opportunities. I had no mentorship. What you can see is what you become.
Exactly.
And to become something, you have to go and see it. You have to go and learn it from experience. I had none of that around me. So for me, it was all about how can we create something that can actually help me mobilize my career journey. And that's where youth group came from. It came from her. It came from wanting to do something different that actually supported people. The aim was only to ever help 100 young people. It was a small project, 100 young people into work, and we'll see where it goes from there. And we're 3 years later, 105,000 young people into work, and it's starting to kind of snowball now.
Jack, your personal story is quite inspiring. You come from financially disadvantaged family. Your mother battled alcoholism when you were young. You had dyslexia, which with little support then made life even harder. And then despite all of that, you managed to achieve so much with the youth group and to become the man you are today. Tell me, what was it within young Jack that made him aspire more than what the immediate circumstances offered? It's really hard on young people who are in this situation to find the motivation, the inspiration, even the role models around them to help them want more. What was it for you that helped you?
Growing up, I was never loved. And that does something to a young person. And you feel lost and you feel lonely. And my upbringing, I used to go home and it was an uninspiring apartment flat that I lived in. Mum was an alcoholic, so she was only ever in free moves, drunk, violent or asleep. Those environments you do not want to be in. No one does. Everyone wants to be in a positive, kind, uplifting environment that makes you thrive in whatever you want to do in life. That environment did not make me want to thrive. It wanted me not to be in this world anymore, and it made me really, really demotivated. And when you're in that, it's like a saying, you're in a boat and the boat is sinking. You can see water coming into this boat. You want to either fix the boat or get out the boat as quick as you can. It's better to get out the boat so the boat doesn't sink in the sea than it is to be in the boat. So I had two choices: try and fix the boat or get out the boat. And the boat, I just didn't know how to fix. So I had to get out of it. And that makes you become a swimmer. And when you become a swimmer and in life challenges hit you and things hit you that you don't imagine would ever hit you before, and you find a way. And that is what I did. I found a way to be positive, to realize that no one's going to come and save you, Jack. If you're going to get to the ocean, you're going to get to the shore, and you're going to really make sure that you're going to survive and not sink, you're going to have to learn skills. You're going to have to do the jobs that no one is going to do. So I started my first job. I earned £2.50 an hour. But I was so proud to be in that organisation, turn up on my first day and say that I had a job, than not to have a job. It was a outbound call centre, and it was my job to call random numbers, considering I was really shy growing up, random numbers, and ask them if they had a car. And if they had a car, then ask them if they wanted a cheaper quote insurance, and then transfer it over to another table, which they called the big boys table, who would then quote the policies for those individuals. So that was my job. For the first 6 months, random numbers. We had a target of in 200 calls as much as we can. Get to 200 calls as quick as we can to hit your milestone. Did I really know what I was doing? No. But did I turn up to it every day? Absolutely. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, or when you're growing your business, or when you're building your product, you have to show up every day.
Absolutely. Does this ring a bell, Leon? What was your upbringing like? Who were you as a kid?
Absolutely. So I grew up outside of London. So didn't ever come into London until really late. And growing up out of London in a city named one of the worst places to live in the UK for young people, there wasn't a lot of opportunity or motivation. And didn't really enjoy school. I knew when I was growing up, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Didn't really know what being an entrepreneur meant, but knew I wanted to be one. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to create a meaningful impact on the world and create a difference in society. But I had no idea what that was. And so cruised through school, finally left, and I decided to start my own business. Had no idea what I was doing, but I just gave it a go because the opportunities in terms of careers around me, there wasn't anything that excited me. There wasn't anything where I could see a clear path. And I just knew that if I did my own thing, I could create my own path and figure it out. Yes, I'm going to get it wrong 100 times, but I only need to get it right once. And so my first venture was an app. And this app was called Tap to Clap. And basically what it was an app built when the NHS for the UK during COVID, it was 8 p.m. every Friday, I think it was, everyone went outside to clap for the NHS. And I said, this is really cool. You can see everyone doing it across the country, but how can we see what the impact is overall? So I said, I'm going to build an app where you go on and at 8 p.m, press a button and you tap to clap. And we can see how many people across the whole of the country have clapped, what areas clap the most, and kind of make it a bit of a game, but also show that, we're supporting the NHS. Now, my first challenge with that was I had no idea how to build an app. I had no product experience, didn't know any programming, and I was like, I have no idea how to do this. I think my superpower, and I think everyone has a superpower, my superpower was if I want to do something, I'll find a way. I'll figure out a way of doing it. So I went online, I found some guy who was doing some volunteering work, and he helped me build this app. And we turned it around really quick. And it didn't do amazing, it didn't go global or anything, but it was my first kind of idea that I made into a reality, and it actually got users on there. We made a difference, and I learned a lot from that. I didn't sell it or anything. It was just kind of a fun venture that I started. Didn't really know how to sell it at the time. And that was my kind of first instinct and first part of experience into business. Then later on, I said, okay, that's something cool. That was fun. But now I need to do something that's going to help me sustain money because, I'm going to be moving out soon. I need to make a living and I don't know what job I want to get into. So let me go for another business. That was a video marketing agency. Started it from my bedroom. Again, had no idea what I was doing, but just gave it a go. I managed to figure out how to set up a company on Company's House. I think at the time it cost me 13 quid, and which was a lot of money at the time, but definitely worth the investment now. And I grew that agency to a few freelancers, and we had a few clients. But it wasn't social good. It wasn't giving back like the Tap to Clap app was. It wasn't kind of doing good, and I wanted to do something that was doing good. So I felt really lost. Didn't have a network, no mentors around me to give me some advice on what I could do. My mum and dad are brilliant. Mum's a social worker, but no one really entrepreneurial in my network. So I went online, I went searching, and I found Jack, young Jack, also known as UK's Chief Youth Officer. And I thought, wow, this guy is doing some really inspiring work for young people. I just fell in love with the idea straight away. So I reached out, said, Jack, you don't know me, but I love what you're doing. Can I come shadow you for the day? And I did that shadow. I come to London for the first time, realized there's a restaurant named after me called Leon. And I realized the lack of opportunity outside of London. There's a lot of opportunity in London, but where I grew up, there wasn't. So that kind of opened my eyes to the opportunities within London, which was really interesting. And that day, I said, I want to work with you, Jack. I don't know how, but I want to work with you. And we ended up him actually acquiring my marketing agency and bringing it into Youth Group, and then me joining Youth Group as the Chief Operating Officer.
From your stories and the stories of many other successful people I've heard, including people coming to your podcast, is that one of the most important life skills for young people to build as soon as possible is resilience. For me, this entails being comfortable with rejection and being adaptable to change. When life throws a punch, you get up and you continue. My observation is that young people tend to complain and grumble a bit more. We used to be tougher. When I was in high school, I had a history teacher, which once told me in front of the whole class that I would never make it in life beyond selling in a market. It was absolutely devastating, so humiliating. I still remember this story, and it happened. She wasn't dismissed. I didn't have a social media platform to go and complain and find my support circle there. And I just had to press on, continue studying. Next year, I got into one of the best universities in the country I was living back then. What I'm trying to say is that not that we have to normalize abuse or tolerate idiots. But the fact is, the world is full of idiots. And we just have to build this kind of thick skin as early as possible and just be comfortable with rejection. I even think that this lack of resilience is probably fueling the mental health crisis we find ourselves in the moment. Do you agree with this point of view, or do you think that probably the opinion I just expressed is part of the problem?
So my point of view on resilience, anxiety, stress, I talk about mental health a lot online, and the UK is we're in a huge mental health crisis when it comes to young people right now. And I just believe that young people are creating a picture that's not real, and they're painting their pictures on someone else's in someone else's canvas. And I just believe that life takes you in all different directions. We have to create more alien moments in our lives, and we can't be boxed. I'm writing a book at the moment, and one of the chapters is Jack in the Box, but where is my box? And in school, like that teacher, they like to box you in because that's all they know. And when you're boxed in and you fall over in that box, you get anxiety, your resilience, confidence is at an all-time low across the country at the moment because of wars and everything that's going on, cost of living. And young people are getting themselves trapped in their own minds when it comes to what's real, what's not, what. Don't look at someone else's success or roadmap and decide that your roadmap is wrong or your roadmap is not going to succeed based on someone else's. I just believe that this is the world we've come in, and the reason why that is because we've got the world of social media. We paint a perfect picture. Nothing's perfect. Look, I've turned up to this call today without my hair being done. I've not had a shave. And sometimes you don't. I'm not going on any stage this week. You know what? I've got no podcast. I've got this one, but I've not got no guests coming over to with me this week. So sometimes you just have to have down times, and you just have to realize that, you know what? We're all human at the end of the day, and we're not going to have everything figured out. But it's really important in life to become useful. And that's the only goal that people should have, is to become useful to their family, become useful to their neighborhood, become useful in their job, and become useful to what they want to achieve in life. We all try and create a map of this success when actually no one has it figured out. That's one thing I notice on all these guests that come on my podcast, from the Prime Minister to a CEO who runs a £50 billion company, is that everyone's just trying to figure it out. And you really get to see who has width and who has depth, and just focus on your own depth.
Right. You mentioned social media. I honestly feel that a huge part of the problem is social media. The FOMO young people experience, the constant comparison. As they say, pairing your outside with people's inside. What's being done? Like, are there any projects, or are there kind of any successful companies or maybe influencers that you think are helping young people see what the truth is? This is not the reality. You have to wake up and stop comparing yourself and let yourself grow and write your own path.
There's this really inspiring podcast that really helps showcase, failures. I think one thing social media doesn't show is the failures, and that's the most important part around any success is the failures, because failure is not fatal. It's part of the journey. And you talk about rejection, use that failure not as a rejection, but as a redirection to the next opportunity that is the right opportunity. And part of those philosophies and those thinkings is My Duvet Flip. That's the podcast where we're getting leaders on. They're real models. They're not celebrities. They're not influencers. They're real leaders that have had experiences. We've got this guest coming up soon. She was been made redundant 5 times in her career. And so one of the topics will be around, how do you deal with redundancy, the challenges of that, while also being a single mother and also recently recovering from cancer as well. So I think social media needs to really showcase the failures, not to say, oh, look at this person, they failed. We need to champion the failures, because that's where you learn the most. If you go through your life winning and never failing, when you do have that failure, that's when your resilience, your confidence muscles have not been built strong enough to handle it. So My Duvet Flip is, and I'm being cheeky saying that because Jack's the host, it's his show, but I think it's such a good way for young people and even business leaders, CEOs watch it and government officials watch it, to hear from these leaders around confidence, resilience, and failure as well.
And I would add in that woman that Leon's talking about, she's also she's chief brand officer for a massive organisation. So she's done it. She's been there. Don't measure your value by someone else's tape. Is the success here? Is we measure our values on someone else's tape and how long their tape is, on what they believe success is. Be you in the moment. And look, social media can be good. People get jobs from it. The economy, in terms of the social media economy, has created thousands of jobs. Is there organisations supporting with whether it's bullying or whether it's harassment? Absolutely. And these organisations are great. I just believe that if we really want to change the social media landscape, we have to change at home. Change starts at home. Look, Facebook is not going to go and do something that's not in their favour. And their favour is money. Let's just be blunt, yeah? Money makes the world go round. And if it doesn't make the organisation more money, are they going to do it? Are government going to really put a policy in place that really strips these organisations of certain things? No, because that's how governments promote what they're doing on social media. So we're in a circle. So we're already in the tank. So the plan is, you're in the tank. It's got sharks. It's got fishes, and it's called the social media tank. The plan is to survive as long as you can in that social media tank. You just can't get away from it. Now, some people say, okay, I don't do social media at all. I respect those people. But not doing social media at all is not for everyone. It's how we communicate with people across the world. It's how you build your brand. It's how, I never wanted to be a podcast host. I never wanted to do it. I said 5 episodes and that would be it. And once I've done 5 episodes, I would never do a podcast again in terms of my own show. We're now on season 3. We've had over 9.2 million views on it. We have 55,000 youth tune in every episode. It's become, I'm in the tank. And now it's like, okay, I've ate a few fishes and I've sworn away from the shark fishes. It's how do I now stay in that tank and stay relevant? And that's the cycle you're in, unfortunately. So you're either completely out the tank or you're in the tank. I don't think you can do both.
As a millennial in my mid-30s, I sometimes look at my son, who's 7-year-old, even like teenagers and people in their 20s, and I think to myself, oh my God, what a fourth generation. They had an abundance of opportunities in front of them. It's never been easier to start a business, to learn a new skill. Everything is out there. It's free. I was amazed when I saw a 13-year-old boy, Chris, having an interview with you, Jack, on his own podcast. And he was absolutely brilliant, smashing it. When I was 13, I was reading the news in my bedroom to an imaginary audience and like studying to get in a university, because that was the only perceived way to gain knowledge and to become successful in life. it almost feels like having this plethora of opportunities in front of you is a bit overwhelming and confusing for young people. It's a little bit like Hick's law in product design, where if you offer too many options in front of a user, they get confused and it takes them longer to reach a decision. What can we do to help young people to not feel overwhelmed, to find their path and what they're passionate about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, Desi. There's a million ways to make £1 million. And not that everyone is focused on making and becoming a millionaire, but also just understanding that there's so many different avenues you can go down. And absolutely, it's really overwhelming. What's the right way of doing it? What ways are going to be easier? How do I know this way is going to be better for me? All these questions that young people are thinking about, it can be really overwhelming, and they end up doing nothing about it. And so from my own experience, I tried loads of different things. I only mentioned those 2 projects and businesses that I created, but there was loads of other things I tried in the background. I tried to do investing on the stock market. That didn't work. I didn't enjoy it. There's loads of different things I did. But the one thing I did do is I set the start line, not the deadline. I shortlisted 5 things and I just gave it a go. And it's better to start now, understand if you don't like it, so you can cross it off the list. And rather than go, okay, there's all these different things I do want to do, just find one, focus on one, invest time in that, invest energy. If you're not enjoying it, then cut it straight away. And then at least you know that's something I don't want to do. It's equally as important to find out what you don't like doing as much as you do like doing. And eventually you'll be able to narrow it down. And opportunities come up because of that as well. Opportunities tend to dance with those already on the dance floor. So if you're on the dance floor and you're going for an opportunity in whatever avenue you want to go down, that might lead to something else that you are passionate about, or it might lead to a connection or to a mentor or to a job. So my advice would be, don't focus on the deadline, focus on the start line, and just start that one thing. You might have 3 ideas right now that you want to get involved. Pick one out of a hat and go, I'm going to commit the next 3 weeks to learning as much as I can about this. After 3 weeks, if you're thinking, this isn't my duvet flip, I'm not getting excited about this, cross it off the list, move on to the next.
Yeah, I would add to Leon's, I totally agree with him in terms of start line, not deadline. But also being bored is not bad. People say, oh, I'm bored. Okay, we all get bored. You know what? I've been bored 3 times today. I had to do emails and certain things, and I'm dyslexic, and I find it really difficult to write emails. But I love what I do, and I love the movement. So being bored is not bad. I would also add every role, no matter who you are, yeah, whether you're a singer like Ed Sheeran or whether you're sweeping the streets for the local council, every job has cheers and chores, and you just have to make sure that your cheers overweigh your chores. So every morning when I wake up, and I have a team that support me in my CEO's office, and I go, right, what are the cheers that I've got to do today? What are the cheers that are going to get me excited? Like today, this podcast was a cheer for me. I get to speak to you, get to share some knowledge and have some fun. And then I'm like, okay, I've got some chores. I've got to look at a legal document. I've got to catch up with finance. I don't like finance, but money makes the world go round, and we have to make sure that the money's making sense so we can pay everyone. So in every role, once you've set the start line, not the deadline, and you've tried something, start thinking to yourself and reflecting, what are the cheers here and what are the chores? And even if you had one more cheer than the chore, so if you had a list of 10 and there was 6 cheers and 4 chores, that is success. So in every role, to get young people to pick their opportunities is to understand that doing something, if you get a bit bored, that's okay. We all have bored parts of our jobs, but look out for those cheers.
I'm glad, Jack, that you said that our meeting later on today is not a chore. So. And just to add as well on that, I totally agree, is find those cheers and chores. It's finding out what your brain loves. What does your brain really love? And a cheer for me might be a chore for Jack. So understanding that just because something might be a chore for someone else, you might go, actually, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy working on that, whereas others won't. So also understand, what does your brain love? And that's going to help you then define what Jack said around what are the cheers and what are the chores and what you're working on.
Happiness is your metric.
Absolutely.
Also, what's really important is job honesty. Making sure you have job honesty, because don't judge a job by a job description. A lot of them are just copied and pasted. But to really go into that job, give it a bit of time and really think to yourself, am I happy? And there's going to be parts of the jobs that you're not happy in, but happiness should be your metric. Go to bed tired, not drained. If I go to bed tired, not drained every night, I know that I've had a good day. I know that I've moved forward. Because if you wake up drained and you might wake up, everyone wakes up, and this is why the concept of my duvet flip is that everyone should flip the duvet in the morning to do something, whatever that is, whatever interests you, whether that's working, whether that's going on holiday. We get that feel in the morning when we're about to get on a plane and go on holiday with our friends, or your birthday, you get this sense of excitement in your belly. That is what I want people to have when they get to work. It's easier said than done, I understand that, but find the cheers, not the chores.
Absolutely. And I like your point that you have to be realistic. There will be chores. You just get on with it and you just do it. And you just have to weigh the pros and cons and make sure that you're moving in the right direction. You meet with thousands of young people a year. What is it that they need the most now in 2023?
Hope, skills, and opportunity. And it comes in that order. There's a lack of hope right now. We've got wars, we've got cost of living. People are busy fighting their own fight, where that means that they can't give their full self. I want to see more authentic people in the world. I don't want to see things behind cameras edited down, and I want people to be authentic. I want to show the real you. Do you know what, before this, I've had such a busy morning, and I had to eat. I had to only eat half of my lunch so I could do this. But you know what? I'm fasting, so I've got my fast to sort out. I've got this to do. But you can't. I'm a big believer. Turn up, no matter how fast your day is moving. When your day's moving at pace, turn up with grace. And I believe every young person needs to turn up to their day with grace. Turn up to the interviewing with grace. Turn up to everything. So hope is really important. Without hope, what do we really have? When someone goes in to play for football on the football team, you have hope that you're going to win. The goalie has hope. The striker has hope. So we need to build that sense of hope. People who are watching that game, who are turning up to, I'm a West Ham fan, turning up to West Ham, to the stadium. You do it because you build the hope that we're going to win today. So it starts with hope. Next, it's the skill. Is there a lack of skill or is there a lack of will? Because I believe skill can be taught. Yes, some people are never going to be dancers or singers or good at speaking, and there's introverted and extroverts. I'm an extrovert. But you know what? On the weekend, I have my introverted days. I like to be an introvert. I like to not be bothered. I like to be on my own. I like to be all digital away. So is it a lack of skill or a lack of will? Because I believe you can train skill, but you have to train the skills that you believe will help you earn and thrive. No one thrives for free, unfortunately, in life. And to not thrive for free, you have to have a skill set that will help you get paid for what you do, help you get to the next stage. So really focus yourself on 3 skills that will really make it work for you. And then opportunity. It all boils down to opportunity. You just don't know who you're going to bump into, who you're going to speak to, how you're going to really immerse yourself in an opportunity. And I'm a big believer, if you're always arrogant, you're always wrong. So just humble yourself a bit. My mum was an alcoholic, but one thing I did take from her is, Jack, 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason.
I would add as well, and I love that story as well, Jack, when you share that. I think it's really inspiring. And I would add another thing that young people really need right now is navigation, because you get what you aim for. And young people right now, they're lacking in navigation. They're lacking on how to get from A to B. So if they've not got that navigation, they've not got the aim, they're not going to get it. And you are what you do. So one thing that young people really need right now is that navigation. How do they find out the right journey for them, because everyone's journey is unique, and how do they get the right support for each stage in the process. We have a community of 1.7 million young people aged 18 to 30. We don't focus on age, we focus on stage. What stage are they at right now? What support do they need in that moment? And how can we best support them to get to that next stage? And we do that across our community. So I think, as well as hope, skill and opportunity that Jack said, it's also the navigation. Is how do you navigate to that hope, to that skill and that opportunity?
And I will add to that, comfort is the enemy of growth. It doesn't matter how much growth. And no one might see it as success. But just that one marginal 1% doing something different. Like, for instance, I'm now trying to drink 2 litres of water a day without fail. I've stopped English breakfast tea. 2 years ago, I'd had about 15 cups a day. I've stopped that. It's made me feel better. All that milk in that tea, no good for you. Just little growth moments is really, really important. And you have to define what's winning to you in that moment. Because what's winning to someone else? Do you know what? Someone going on the football pitch, being on that football pitch, even they lose the game, is a win. Because they're on there, aren't they? They've been chosen out of the 11. They're 1 out of the other 10 on the pitch. To me, on their team, to me, they're a winner. So define what's winning to you in that moment is really important in life.
We keep talking about the skills gap. What young people are currently being taught in universities and school is very different from what is expected from them when they start their first job. And with AI now, this gap will keep growing. What do you think, so who is going to offer this navigation that you mentioned, Leon? Is it universities? Do they need to adapt their curriculum? Or shall we think of kind of more apprenticeship programs where employers are helping young people to close this skills gap?
Really great question. At the end of the day, young people are going to either start their own business or work for a business. So I feel that the decisions, not the decisions, but the focus needs to be on employers to help, because education is such a big machine. We're trying to meet a machine with a movement here at Youth Group when it comes to opening opportunities for young people, helping companies connect with young people. To try and change that machine is hard, so you need to build your own machine. And I think companies and employers can do this really well. They know what they want in terms of talent and people. They know what skills they need to learn. It's just then helping them bridge the gap between what young people don't have and how you get them to a level where they have got the skill. That doesn't mean the employer has to go the full way. It's meeting them halfway in the middle. Yes, young people need to get off, some young people need to get off the sofa and meet the employer halfway and have the curiosity to want to learn, to want to grow. We have this framework. Whenever a young person joins our community, they must pass our ABCD criteria. We built this so that when we're putting forward young people to employers, they're young people that are ready to work and they got the ability. And that's A is for ability. Do they have the attitude? Do they have the attitude to work? Are they curious enough? Do they want to come in? Are they ready to give it a go? B is all around being ready. Do they have the right digital skills to come into the workplace? And if they don't, then we support with that. C is around curiosity. Do they ask questions? Are they someone who just gets given a bit of work and we go, yep, cool, and get on with it? Or do they ask questions around what's the purpose of this? Why are we doing this? How can I do this the best? And then D is all around the digital skills that we mentioned. How do you build young people's digital skills so when they go into the workplace, they understand how to use those platforms, those softwares? Not learn the softwares, but understand basic technology. So when they go in, they can pick it up quite quickly. So going back to your question, I think it starts with employers because they're going to be the ones that move quickest to actually make it happen. Not that it should be on them, but I think they just have to bite the bullet and help us and do that. And then hopefully that then inspires education reform and all sorts that way. But I think going from education first is not realistic because of the scale of the change. Unless you've got someone like Jack, who he's not mentioned this or anything, he hasn't got plans to, but I think, Jack, if you're running the country, I think you'd be able to change the education like that and it would work pretty good.
Well, I've got a lot of change outside first.
Absolutely.
But talking about education, look, Leon, you was in the room. I had the education secretary over at my home and they said, you can't hug the world. And my response was, but we have to hug something. And young people need a hug right now when it comes to skills. The only thing that doesn't change is change. I understand that. And I just think there needs to be some sustainability when it comes to policy. And we need some outside thinking when it comes to government. Look, I support the government. I'm pro government when it comes to some of the fantastic things they do for entrepreneur and business. But some of the things they do are so backwards that they need to just be scrapped.
Give me examples.
And I understand scrap. I understand some things are harder to scrap just like that. For instance, employers right now are really struggling to spend their apprenticeship levy. Mm-hmm. There's this apprenticeship levy that companies have to, a tax that they have to buy by if their wage bill is more than 3 million. Companies are really struggling to really spend their levy. And that is really, really hurting and hindering the opportunities when it comes to apprenticeships for young people to actually do these opportunities, because companies are going, oh, we can't spend the levy. We can't get the young people in because the apprenticeship levy is not kind of linking in with what we need. So no one gets help. So they end up putting everyone on an apprenticeship, and those opportunities are then not given to young people in a meaningful way, even though I believe opportunities should be for everyone. So I think that's one thing. Another thing is government do some really good things, like the Kickstart scheme. I believe that was brilliant. It was giving loads and loads of opportunities to young people. 250,000 opportunities were created, but only 122,000 opportunities were actually filled. Why? Because government over-engineered it. It became too political as someone's idea, and the Kickstart scheme had a face to it, where it had a face on it by Rishi Sunak, but it was delivered by the Department of Workplace Pensions. Now, they both got different agendas. You'd think the government would want to be aligned, but at the end of the day, politics is politics. So how can you build action and speed? Action and speed will make you succeed. 123,000 opportunities did not get filled with people who needed jobs. I think that's so disappointing. And I think we need to start there. So start doing more of the stuff that works. Don't over-engineer it, and bring business in where needed to make the boat go faster.
Right. So you meet with CEOs, employers, high level management. What are the top skills that employers need in 2023? And when I say top skills, I mainly mean hard skills, just because things like curiosity and just being kind of genuinely enthusiastic, it's not something you can necessarily teach. How about the skills? What is missing at the moment that if somebody's listening to this podcast, it might just spark an idea for them? Maybe I should pursue career in this field.
So from my perspective, the world is moving so quick. Technology, AI is obviously on every article. It's all over Twitter. It's something that everyone's talking about. Now, for young people who are not tech savvy or don't know how to program, they might be thinking, oh, well, I can't do it. I can't get involved. But you can. I do not come from a techie background at all. My brother's the smart one, the intelligent one. I'm more of I'll try and figure out as I go. And a few years ago, I come across something called no code. I don't know if you've heard of no code, Des, you probably have. And that is such a powerful way for anyone, no matter how much experience you have with building applications or technologies, you can learn and build products, digital products, without having to code at all. And so I would encourage young people to learn about no code. Build a fun little app or project and just give it a go. Learning how to build a product doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a product that you sell or services, but the learnings you'll get from building that product and that journey, finding out, okay, this is the limitation of no code. How can I do workarounds? What communities are out there that I can speak to learn more? I think it's a great way for someone to work on a physical project. I'm someone who learns by doing rather than by theory. So if you're someone who learns by doing as well, having a go at playing around with no code tools. If you just type no code, you'll come up with loads of different tools. I would say young people need to look at that, because technology is not going anywhere. And if you're not someone who's got the technical ability with computer science degrees or anything like that, go the no code route, because most companies are going that way anyway with no code and AI. So I think from my perspective, and what's worked well for me is going through that no code journey. So that'll be my tip.
From my point of view, it would be two things. Time management is so important. And if you're not 5 minutes early, you're already late in anything you do. Literally, I believe the lack of understanding that young people have when it comes to time management, like in terms of, if you're going to set a deadline for a project or a product, deliver it on time. Like when we worked with Pony 2 years ago, every project was on time. There was structure. I think that you've got something to do with that. Great account management there, but everything was on time, and then that builds trust, and then trust builds you to do the next thing. So time management and project management, knowing how to actually project manage something is really important. And then the other one is communication. The amount of things I've seen gone wrong from tech teams, product teams, marketing teams, external explorers when they come in, working with an agency, all because communication lacks. And I think you can't be anything than over communicating. And because we've got so many things on our phones these days, young people lack how to communicate. So if they could get time management, communication, no code, and understanding the basics of digital transformation, I think they will be employable anywhere and everywhere.
Absolutely fantastic advice. I love what you said here for time management. It's really usually a reflection of so many things. How organized a person is, how diligent they would be in their work, and so many other things this speaks to that I honestly cannot understand the importance of good time management. How do you think Gen Z differ from millennials and older generations? Do you have any observations? Are they any different, or we just kind of probably like to over intellectualize the topic and think that they're any special? They're probably just the same people, just younger.
So one thing that comes to mind is trust. Trust in technology, trust in people. I think younger people and the Gen Z generation are more willing to trust, organizations, platforms when they're signing up. We have two sides of the community. We have young people who join our community, and then we have employers and mentors. Now, when they're joining our platform, a mentor has to obviously share a bit of information around them, and that can be something where they're sometimes hesitant to share certain information. Young people, they'll just share everything. You haven't asked for everything, but they'll just share it all. So they're more willing to trust technology, and I think that gives them the edge in terms of when they're looking to join an organization or when they're using and learning softwares online. They trust them more. They're just more willing to give these technologies a go. So I think that's the first thing. Jack, what would you add?
I totally agree in terms of the adoption to trust and adopting a new piece of technology or a product is a lot quicker than other generations. However, it's also a lot quicker to be cancelled.
Right.
And the Gen Z generation will cancel a brand, a product, or a solution, or a person if it doesn't align with their values.
Ghosting.
If it doesn't align with the climate change or doing well, or it doesn't have any noble cause towards it. And we've seen it recently with a number of brands online. Like, for instance, a lot of people are cancelling Wix last week because of certain stuff that's happened. I obviously know the Wix board over there, and it's you have to be so careful because we've got access to everything. And Gen Z generation will make a decision a lot quicker whether they want to be loyal or disloyal to a brand based on what they're doing for the community.
And it's fantastic change. I think we see coming in front of us, probably kind of rewriting of what we consider success. I love this topic that, for us, and I've discussed this with other guests on this podcast, but for us millennials and older generation, it's always been about money, money, money. So money is kind of the only, the only thing that shows that you're successful. Is it? Maybe there are other things, there are other values that will keep kind of growing and taking place of this kind of material world we tend to be living. Of course, not to be naive. We have to have businesses running smoothly and being profitable, but maybe there are other ways to define success.
So you can make money while doing good as well. It's understanding that, and I think young people do understand that. They want to support a brand that's making money while creating good impact, doing good things to the community, supporting a cause that they care about. I think they're more susceptible to, if that changes, then they'll change with it, kind of thing.
And young people, Jen said, they want to make money, but do they really, and this is a question I've got, do they really understand what money is? And the lack of financial well-being, the lack of financial education in schools, and back what I hear from the older generation is that this is money, this is a pound coin, you pay your rent, this is what taxes, this is... Right now, we have thousands of youth that don't understand what national insurance is. They don't even have bank accounts when they come to us. And so I think there's a lack of understanding on the good and bad side of money. Because I believe there is always good and bad side of money in anything. You can do good with money, you can live, you can eat, but also money can buy bad things as well. So I just think that we need some more education around what money is, the value of money. I think Jen said I've got it. You're totally right. Jen said I've got it perfectly right when it comes to it's not just about money. And it's about other stuff, and it's about how I feel and making sure we're doing good for the climate and the planet. But I also think there's also a lack of understanding what money actually means and what that means in today's world still for that generation.
We're still lacking any financial education in schools and secondaries. I think that should be illegal. We need to prepare young people, even if they don't study economics at uni, how to work with kind of everyday expenses, as you mentioned, national insurance, to pay the taxes. What is the tax system in the country? Isn't that just shocking? Why are we not educating people more when it comes to finance?
It is shocking. Leon, what's your point of view on this? Because I'm very passionate about this. I believe banks have a role to play, government have a role to play, education. I think parents have a role to play. I think we have a role to play. I think everyone has a role to play. But if you were to say, give me a money influencer, you think of Martin Lewis. But he's for the older generation. That's all you think of. Who's the young? I think there's a big space. Anyone listening out who wants an idea, there's a big space for a money influencer who is young, edgy, to come into the space and just demystify everything. What does pensions mean? How do I get a pension? What is insurance? Or what is the pension gap? I think there's so much for an influencer to come in, or what they call a creator these days. So it's gone past the influencer day. It's now the creators. There's a room for a money creator to come in and really educate the next generation on what it means to manage your money, thrive with your money, and look after your money. And earn money as well. You can't look after your money if you don't earn it.
I think also understanding when you've earned the money, how do you best save it or invest it and spend it? And yes, absolutely, you should spend when you get a bit of money, because you've earned that bit of money. You should reward yourself, but also understand don't spend it all, and understand, okay, when I'm spending this money, have I taken into account that I'm going to be paying for national insurance, or that and the tax is going to come off before I get the final amount? So I totally agree with Jack there. We have a saying around building your money powers. How can you build your money powers so that wherever you are, it's a transferable skill. It doesn't matter what you're doing, have the money powers to be able to manage your money, invest it in the right way, understand how far that money needs to take you to your next bit of money as well. Because again, it's that forward thinking, that projection, that forecasting. And just the skills around managing your money is going to then help you in the workplace doing your own business. If you've got a business and you're starting your own business, you've got to manage the bank even more focused, making sure you've got enough to pay for softwares for your staff. So it's how do you build the money powers of young people and branding it in that way? Because some of the, I think, financial literacy literacy is quite an older term. So branding it in a way that's more youthful, where the young people are going to engage with it more, speak the language of youth, speak the terms in what young people are using, because then you're going to relate to them a lot more.
Money is not a dirty word, but in British culture, we see it as a dirty word. A bit like British culture doesn't embrace failure as much as America does, and other countries. And I believe money's not a dirty word. I think young people need salary clarity when it comes to salary. I'm a big believer, put how much you're paying on a job description. And that could be a salary band. That's okay. So your competitors don't know. We know companies go, I don't want to put a salary on because it's the competitors will see what I'm paying. Well, have a salary band. Easy done. So I think there needs to be some salary clarity. I think we need to get over that money is a dirty word. There's a lot of shush around money when in the workplace. Yeah, I'm not saying everyone put a pound sign on their head and say this is how much I'm worth, but I think there needs to be more transparency when it comes to people and money. And we've not got time today for this podcast, but don't get me started on women getting paid less than men. That's a whole new thing that we could talk about.
You've got the right host for that. So. Awesome. So another topic I wanted to kind of quickly touch base on with you guys before I let you go is, so when I think of young people, first picture that comes to mind would be a young apprentice bustling in a busy London office or in another major city. And I've been thinking recently that we kind of tend to overlook people who are from or who have chosen to live in more rural areas. What can we do, employers, maybe the government, and as a whole as a society, to make sure that opportunities are spread evenly, or at least we create more opportunities outside of bigger cities?
There's so many things that could be done, and again, I'm a big believer, focus on everything, you focus on nothing. So what's the focus on that one thing? What's that one thing that could help? The easiest one I can think of is around remote working. COVID has really transitioned that to be remote working. When I was growing up in my home city, I only looked for opportunities in that city. But now you can look for opportunities in different city, but still live there. So I think it's understanding and explaining to young people that just because you live in one area doesn't mean you can go for jobs in other areas. That's the quick win. That's something that you can turn around quick. Asking employers to move all their jobs outside of London or elsewhere, that's a longer challenge and bigger challenge to solve. But one is around how can you maybe set the location of the job to different cities, because actually it's a remote role anyway, so it doesn't matter. But then you're going to attract young people from different cities that they wouldn't otherwise be looking for. I think that would be my one there. Jack?
I would say there's no such thing as a dream location. I know a lot of people look at London as the success, but you can have success in Manchester, Newcastle, you can have success in Scotland, Wales, everywhere. And I think everything's about compromise in life. Something that you get, there's something you have to give. Now, you might say, I want to stay local, and that might mean that there's a less salary at the moment. And that's obviously changing with the government's level and up strategy. If people hurry up, I like to make things move quick. But you know what? Ask these questions. Ask the questions. If you do see a role that's advertised in London and it's something you really want, be bold enough to message and put in your cover letter, I do not live in London. I have no plans to come into London, but would you consider remote opportunity if I could prove A, B, and C? And I think that's what we need to be. We need to be more bold. We see a job description and we go, okay, in London, needs this level of experience. Yet again, don't be defined by the boxes. My first job, I did not get. They said, I went to an assessment day. They said I didn't have the skills or the degree. I wrote an email into that company and I said, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity, for letting me come with my peers, learning about other people from all walks of life. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present myself. I know I did not get this opportunity Here's 3 things that I've reflected on that I believe I would improve the next time round. Thank you. They came back and said, we would like you to come and meet our managing director. Within a week, I had the job. That started my career in the world of talent and recruitment, which has led me on to running the youth group today. So sometimes don't take no as the first answer. But there is a very fine line between being bold and then just being goddamn annoying. And you have to find the balance between, because people do have busiest lives. Don't disrespect someone's application process. But if you do need tweaks in it, be bold enough in a graceful and kind way. I'm a big believer on kindness, on just asking that employer, would they reconsider or would they consider something else in a meaningful way. But if you do not get an opportunity, move forward. Don't dwell on it. Don't get upset. Yes, have a moment to mourn. And everyone, I'm a big believer in when someone's mourning, give them a moment to mourn, whether it's a job or a rejection. But like Leon said, rejection is redirection in everything in life. And that's from trying to set up a bank account with one bank. If NatWest rejects you, go to Barclays. Or Monzo, there's loads of digital banks now. So everything has a redirection to it. Don't see it as rejection, see it as redirection.
Amazing advice. It was an absolute pleasure having this chat with you guys. And I think the country needs more role models like you. You're so inspirational. You're so humble. You are fun. You're a pleasure to be around. So I really thank you for your time today. But before I let you go, what's your duvet flip? What's the first thing you guys do in the morning that gets you going? You don't think you're going to escape this question, right?
You swung it right back to me. So look, my duvet flip changes all the time based on climate, what I've got in my schedule. But one thing that doesn't change is I want to wake up every morning knowing I can have an impact on my own health, an impact on the community around me, and an impact on the planet and the world. They're the 3 things I strive for every day. Did I become 1% better in my health? I think health is everything. Yeah. So how can I be better in my health? Did I do more steps? Secondly is the community. Look after people. You know what? When you're going into a shop, you know what? Put yourself out there and wait for someone to come out the shop before you go in. Yeah. The rudeness of people just barging in when someone's trying to get out a smaller space. Be considerate. Smile at someone, the thing of a smile. And I'm not saying go around smiling at everyone, and be careful who you smile at, because if a young woman's on their own, don't go smiling at them. Just be pleasant, yeah? But be kind in everything you do. Nothing is weird or odd, it's just different. So you go into a coffee shop and you see someone serving you. They're not lower than you. They're actually really smart, because one of them might be just studying to become the next scientist that creates the cure for the next cancer or the pandemic. So be nice to everyone, and then do your bit to make the world a better place. And it all starts with one. Help someone, reach out, go back and nice. The amount of emails that I see that people don't address people with their first name and they just go, hi. Always start the email with hi and the person's name. Like that, I mean, the interview starts as soon as you apply for the job.
Absolutely.
And that goes for all, and that's what we say. It doesn't start when the interview starts. It starts as soon as you apply. But this podcast started as soon as you kindly said, oh, we'd like you to come on. Do you know what I mean? The graceful and the team and how make it easy for people. Make life easy. So I wake up with a duvet flip with those 3 things.
Amazing. Leon, how about you?
Amazing. God, I don't know if I can top that one. That's a really good duvet flip. Mine, I've said it throughout. I'm a curious person. I love learning, and every day I wake up knowing that the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, and that excites me because there's so much more to learn. I like to have these curious conversations with people at least once a week. A curious conversation where I'm not selling or buying from someone. We're just having a curious conversation to learn about them, their experience, their journey, and what can I take from that to then bring back to youth group and then bring that to our community of young people. So my duvet flip is having those curious conversations to learn from, to then use that to then help more young people get into work.
The Product Show is brought to you by Pony, a design studio helping startups and scale-ups build and optimize their digital products at speed. Check pony.studio to learn more.